it's about that time in prep, man. Energy is getting low. The cardio is increased to 85 minutes per day, purely running off of excitement, adrenaline, and whatever else we got left. But it's at that point, man, we have to, it's mind over matter at this point. If you tell yourself it's gonna suck, it will suck. If you tell yourself you're on a beach in Mexico, maybe you'll convince yourself you're on a beach in Mexico, but right around the corner, and being just under 5 weeks out, it's exciting, man. I feel like every single day, it's one day closer and closer to a dream that's about to be turned into a reality. And you know, I'm talking to some of the Olympians who I'm going to be competing with, and you know, it's no bad blood. We're just excited to be on stage, sharing the stage together. We have much respect for each other and our physiques, and again, yeah, I truly believe my success is dictated on where I am. You know, so right now, currently, food has been dropped, cardio has been increased, and right now we are really focusing on maintaining strength in the gym, intense training sessions, whether it's with the same amount of weight or not that we previously started with. We're keeping intensity high, and that's our main focus right now, while at the same time trying to enjoy the little moments. We have a big reading that we're about to go into right now. I gotta go get cleaned up, change the shirt after a nasty leg day, but it's right around the corner, man. It's right around the corner. Speaking of leg days, like, this is one of the first leg days ever to the channel. Like, can we take a second to show some love? I didn't want to hide this, man. Before, you guys know I torn my meniscus, and the intensity when it came to legs hasn't been increased drastically because we've been more in a PT phase for the longest of time. But for the last, you know, month or so, we've been really pushing it hard, trying to maintain some good size there, and I've been pretty hopeful that we've been able to at least keep some good shape, man, because again, men's physique is the whole picture. You got to remember, just because they don't judge the legs necessarily doesn't mean the legs doesn't emphasize the physique, right? So I'm a big believer in, if you have nice sweeps, it's going to emphasize the X frame and that V taper. So, you know, it's always been an emphasis to make sure that we're double downing and keeping the leg training at an all-time high in terms of intensity. And you know, we've been doing that, so feeling good. But now it's time to go see how the data is currently mapping out from the start of this prep to where we are now. So you guys know I get DEXA scans done about every 6 weeks or so in a prep. Closer to the end of it, we'll get it done every 3 weeks. But I'm excited to see kind of where we were compared to last prep, while at the same time where we were at the beginning of this prep. So it's a lot of data, and it's been really helpful, man. We've been able to kind of backtrack and see, you know, things where we went wrong and have data to back that, while at the same time doing new things and having data back that to see if it's something that's in our favor or not. So it's been a lot of trial and error, but it's been a lot of success based off of the data that we've been seeing. So let's go see how fat we are. Oh, my legs.
All right, so, you know, we've been going through prep here. We're about 6 weeks out, right? So as far as last scan to now in this prep, the last scan we had was on 9/20, right? So as we continue getting closer and closer to the prep, on these results here, we've had as good of a change as we can get, right? So from 9/20 to now, we've gone from 25.5 pounds of fat down to 21.4 pounds of fat, and we've gone up from 220 pounds of lean or muscle up to 227 pounds of muscle, right? So slowly coming down in fat, continuing to have lean come up is exactly what you want in kind of that mid prep phase, right?
Yeah.
Our body fat percentage went from 10.3, now we're starting to get serious, we're down to 8.6 with 6 weeks to go, right? Mm-hmm. So I know one thing we talked about is kind of comparing this to our last prep, and learning from some of the mistakes and things that we can do to make us better, right? So last time, 6 weeks out, you were a similar percentage, slightly higher, you were at 8.8%, mm-hmm. But your lean mass was 10 pounds less, right? So that speaks a lot to what's been happening in this off season.
So in layman's terms, more muscle,
yeah,
compared to last prep, similar-ish body fat percentage, slightly lower.
Yeah, so compared to last prep, you have 10 pounds more of muscle on you,
okay,
which is a huge amount considering that was in May,
yeah, right?
And now it's November, right? And from a tissue fat percentage, right, or a body fat percentage, we're at 8.6 with 6 weeks to go.
Wait, hold on, I'm sorry. So you're saying roughly from 6 weeks out from New York, So that's May.
Yep.
End of May compared to where we are right now. In early November, we put on
10 pounds of muscle.
And majority of that has been still in prep.
Yeah.
Slightly recomp phase, and then
which is the crazy part. Yeah. So really impressive. And you know, one of the things we want to try to work on here, and what we've learned in previous preps, is we want to try to be able to hold on to as much of that lean mass for as long as possible, right?
Absolutely.
So with the previous DEXAs, you've learned of where nutrition needs to be, where calories need to be, etc. So we're going to try to have this 227 maintained for as long as we can, hopefully even go up a little bit, at least for a couple more weeks. And then we like to see this fat number, 21.4 pounds, slowly start to come down, and then it'll drop off pretty significantly in those last 2-3 weeks.
So when I stepped on stage at New York,
correct.
Do you remember roughly how much percent?
Yeah, so when we stepped on stage, if we go into all your stuff here, the week before the show, at least, so this was 2.5 days before you stepped on stage, you were 6.3%.
Okay.
Right? So I would bet, based on you having a significantly higher lean mass this time and a more predictable pattern of fat loss, we should be well below that, right? And it's going to look way different because you have way more lean mass on top of it.
Yeah, so chances of being more conditioned than ever before is
almost guaranteed at this point, assuming we do similar things that we've done in the past, right? And I think you're not going to do similar things. You'll do similar plus better, right? So I think results will even be better than that. I think, we have a huge ability to get into the 5s here at hopefully 227 plus pounds of muscle. Yeah, which is huge.
What's the leanest body fat percentage that you've seen on this table?
Yeah, so we had another Olympia competitor last year at 4.3%.
Oh my God.
So that's the leanest we've had. That was 48 hours before the Olympia. So that's as peak as it can really be. Honest,
he was, oh my God, 4.3%.
4.3% is the record for men.
That's the record
for men on this. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Females, we had a 6.1%.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So
that's painful.
That being said, though, at 8.6% now with the lean mass you have, you know, 5s is almost guaranteed. I think the question is what happens from there, right? Yeah. Obviously, in the division you're going to want to be more tailored in certain areas versus others, right? But most of your lean mass also has been where you want it to be.
I was just about to say, so can we more specify where the muscle has been put on the most?
Yeah, so if we compare it to even back in your last prep leading up to New York Pro here, if we go just 6 weeks out where you were last time, and we look specifically at the trunk numbers, we have put almost 6 pounds of muscle on in just the trunk area, right? Which would be considered mostly the chest, lat, and upper back, right? Which is where you were wanting to build muscle. I think the funny problem that you've been running into is your arms and legs still want to grow despite pulling back on some of that, but the majority of your lean mass has been in that kind of central trunk area.
Yeah, that's insane. All right, man. So I guess, I know you kind of mentioned with the runway we have left, expectations of if maximized, where do you think body fat percentage wise we can?
Yeah, I think your goal should be 5.5, and if we get more than that, I think that's a huge win, right? But I think 5.5 should be your expectation of the highest you should be.
Without sacrificing muscle.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's hard to not lose a little bit of muscle, especially in those last 2 weeks, but that's where having a huge runway of extra muscle compared to where you were last show can really, really help, because if you lose a pound or two, which is expected in the last week or two, the fat's coming off just as fast, so you can really start to get lean. But I think 5.5% is your floor and minimum of what you want to be at, and then you could be leaner than that, I think, if we do everything right.
That's crazy. I think I was
6.3 at New York.
And in Miami, we didn't get a scan done, but I was definitely
probably leaner. A little bit leaner.
I would probably say
high 5s, maybe.
High 5s, 6s, so even still at a 5.5, the leanest and the biggest.
Yeah, so. And that's what I was going to say. It's not just about the percentage, right? Because you could be 6% with 210 pounds of lean mass and 6% with 230 pounds of lean mass.
It looks completely different.
Look very different, right? And that's where I think you've really excelled since your last show.
All right.
Let's do it.
I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir. Love it.